Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right, everybody. Thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin' Robbie Billups. This is the weekly comic book review. It's the show where I read a lot of comic books, and I'll let you know what I thought about them. But before we get into that, I do want to go ahead and say that the winner for the Red Sonja number 15 J. Lee limited edition Virgin variant cover, graciously provided by the good folks over at Dynamite Entertainment, the winner of this was Ka-Zar Jose. He has been in touch with me. This is about to be shipped out to him. Ka-Zar, thank you so much for participating. And now I will announce another contest. This time we have a Vengeance of Vampirella number 12 with a limited edition Virgin variant by Lucio Perillo. This book is awesome. Looks amazing. Vampirella drinking her blood wine or whatever. She's got this like demon behind him. I love this cover so much I almost don't want to give it up. But we will. Once again, just like last week, all you got to do to enter is be subscribed to the channel, like this video, and comment down below. And on Sunday night on Rockin' Robbie Live, I will be picking a winner of this book. So there you go. So just comment below, like, subscribe, and you're entered to win, and that's super freaking awesome. And don't forget that PCP can save you money over at dynamicforces.com. All you got to do is enter the code Robbie at checkout, and you'll receive 10% off. And now on with the weekly comic book review, and we always start with the pick of the week. This week's pick of the week, The Me You Love in the Dark, issue number 2. This book blew me away, even more than issue number 1. I really liked issue number 1, but I thought that it was the pick of the week too. It was very well executed, but we just get a tinge of a story, right? But just enough, especially taking into consideration what develops here in issue number 2. I loved it. This book has a whimsical, kind of clever, fun nature to it, but in issue 2, it starts getting legitimately creepy and unnerving, and it starts to do this cool tightrope balance act between that more light nature and the darker nature, and I'm loving it. The book was expertly rendered. It had a great pace to it. It's written by Scotty Young. It's got artwork by Jorge Corona. Amazing color work by John Francois Bolo. Absolutely freaking love this book. I think issue 2 was better than issue number 1, but they work together so well as a hook for this series, which I do believe is only going to be 5 to 6 issues, so I'm really excited to see what happens, because if each issue of this is created and executed with this level of craftsmanship, this is going to be something really special. So we shall see, but 2 issues in, it has completely sold me. Pick of the week, The Me You Love in the Dark, issue number 2. That's from Image Comics. Let's jump over to DC. We're going to start with DC Black Label because we got Nice House on the Lake here with issue number 4. This was almost pick of the week. Close contender. Who knows? It's definitely going to be top 3, top 2. Probably on my top 10 video with Jim Mint Collectibles over at his channel at the end of the week. But I love this book. I think it's absolutely amazing. The one criticism I had about this book was that it was hard to kind of wrap my head around each of the characters early on. Well, James Tynion, the writer, is taking the time in a very Lost-like type way of approaching each character as its own piece. It's like each issue is a character piece on a different character while unveiling more of the mystery and bringing about more questions about the mystery, what's going on. We're starting to learn a little bit more about the day-to-day life. This book, if you're not familiar, is about this group of friends loosely connected to this one dude named Walter. He's brought them all to this place for a vacation. Meanwhile, the world ends. They're the only ones left, and it seems like Walter's somewhat responsible for it, or working for people or individuals or entities that are responsible for it. It's weird, it's wild, it's fun. The artwork by Alvaro Martinez Bueno with Jordi Belair on the colors is amazing. It's excellent composition, perfect usage of the double page spread when necessary. It does come across as verbose, but the way that the art works with the dialogue, it just flows so well. It's an amazing book that's filled with revelations and questions, and this was great. And I was really impressed at how they actually progressed the story rather forward in just issue number 4. So it didn't seem like it was going to get very far in just a few issues, and now we are further than I thought we would be as I was reading 1 through 3, as I was reading 4. Does that make sense? Anyway, Nice House on the Lake, number 4. It's dope. Speaking of James Tynion, we got Batman 112 out this week. This kicks off Fear State, post-Fear State Alpha, so that was the big, catch everybody up, and here's what it is. And this issue, it's still all right, because it's got amazing artwork by Jorge Jimenez. However, not too much really happens, and it's like, we've been primed for this, and we're still just sitting here waiting, explaining some things, and at one moment Scarecrow's is actually like, and now it's time. I'm like, bro, you said that like three issues ago. Anyway, that being said, for just a bunch of people sitting around talking, Jorge Jimenez made this book really dynamic, and I thought that was really cool. The coloring by Tomu Mori is absolutely phenomenal, but all the pieces are now in place yet again. So hopefully some eruptions will happen, we'll see, and I'm sure as long as Jorge Jimenez is doing the artwork, that's going to shine. The Swamp Thing is here with issue number 7. Ram V, Mike Perkins, Mike Spicer. Just an absolutely phenomenal book, continues to be so. It's a 10-issue series with the promise that there could be more on the horizon, and I really do hope that that is the case. What I really like about this book is it's sitting on its own as its own piece of work, introducing a new character, Levi, to being the new Avatar of the Green, the new Swamp Thing, right? And it's been a slow burn on revealing all of the past stuff and what exactly is going on with that character, how he wound up Swamp Thing, and all the stuff going on with his family. Well, they're getting to that. And in the midst of telling this really well thought out paced story, Ram V has had to tie into Suicide Squad. He's had to tie into the Poison Ivy stuff that's part of the Fear State. That was in the earlier issues. That kind of ties into things. He's able to balance that. He's able to do, the company service, right? And be like, yeah, let's throw the Suicide Squad in there, but still make it fit. And it doesn't move away from this melancholy, deliberate, somber type tone that the book has that I absolutely love. And at the same time, now really progressing the story forward and getting more information about Levi, his father, his brother, his family, his community. And man, I really digging it, and it's actually illuminating new ideas and nuances to the previous issues. It really is, and I'm really excited to sit down and reread it all one day when all 10 are out, because this is just amazing. Ron V is one of the best. The Swamp Thing is one of the best books over at DC. Then we got Infinite Frontier, issue number 6. This is the last issue of this miniseries, which is leading to a miniseries, which is leading to a miniseries, which is leading to a new Crisis event, right? So this is leading and setting up everything coming up in the pages of Justice League Incarnate, but it also just lays everything out. What exactly has been going on? Psycho Pirate, who's he working for and why? Darkseid, what is this version of Darkseid, and why is it ultimately the most badass version of Darkseid ever? You got Justice League Incarnate, anchored by Superman of Earth 23. Absolutely love that character. Love this book. It was big. It was bombastic. Had big ramifications for the DC universe, especially if you're a Crisis multiverse head like me. It tied into everything from Crisis on Infinite Earths, through Infinite Crisis, through Final Crisis, right up to Multiversity, and I loved it. Bringing back some ideas, expanding things out further, getting us to understand a little bit more about what it necessarily means to be in an omniverse, and at the same time just really setting up some great Darkseid stuff to come. I freaking love this book. JSA ramifications, so if you're a fan of JSA, you definitely want to be checking this stuff out. So I really liked it, and also some nice stuff with Roy Harper. So, Speedy fans, there you go. Black Manta, number 1 is here. This is a 6-issue miniseries. Black Manta. So, we don't have an Aquaman book. We're about to get the Jackson Aquaman miniseries. So, this is written by Chuck Brown with artwork by Valentin DeLandro. I'll tell you this. I loved the artwork in this book. The artwork was amazing. It's got this nice, kind of crisp and cool style to it that I really, really liked. And at first, the story was awesome. It was Black Manta was being badass. I was like, okay, I'm on board. I'm interested to see where they explore it. Then it just kind of lost me. Lost me with the plot, lost me with motivation. And then by the end of this, as much of an Aquaman fan as I am, I was like, why do we get a Black Manta book? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I will check it out. I'm an Aquaman fan. I'm going to read it no matter what. But in a world where we don't have an ongoing Arthur Curry Aquaman book, seems like a weird stretch to get Black Manta a miniseries. By the way, that art was cool, energetic and shit. Anyway, Green Lantern is here with issue number 6. This is by Jeff Thorne, Tom Rainey, and a few others. So this is the middle of a 12-part story that Thorne has been kind of putting together. And I kind of took another look at it after Sunday night, and what I really like about this is there's this great conversation between Jo. She's the Lantern from Far Sector, so if you're not keeping up with Green Lantern, something has destroyed the battery at Oa, and all the Green Lantern have lost their powers, except for Jo and Teen Lantern, and then like Hal Jordan still has his ring. I don't know, we'll get to that in a second. So Teen Lantern has gone to Korrigar to like just tear ass and go after Sinestro, and so Jo from Far Sector, who's kind of in charge of things now, she has to go there, and she has this nice conversation with Sinestro that I really, really liked. But at the end, there's a little bit of stuff involving Kilowog and John Stewart. There's a lot of plates spinning in Jeff Thorne's Green Lantern run right now. And at times as you're reading it, it can feel a little displaced, like, wait, where were we, whatever. But when you start reading it back all together, it kind of irons out. And what I was going to say on Sunday night, and I think I didn't get this point exactly, was I've never necessarily been the biggest John Stewart fan. I was more into Kyle Rayner when I was getting into Green Lantern, but Jeff Thorne is making me appreciate and like that character more, because he's actually doing something different with the characters, with that character in particular, and with the concept, a lot different than what we've seen, because it seems like most people just try to riff off of the Jeff Johns stuff, and this is trying to do something different, which I really like. So Green Lantern number 6, and then we have a Green Lantern annual too. That's right, the new issue and the annual in 1 week. That is obnoxious, but anyway, this tells the story of how Jessica Cruz became a Yellow Lantern. So it's tied into what's going on in Green Lantern, but it's not like part of that thread where you have to read this one in a certain order or whatever. This actually takes place, I think, before Green Lantern number 5, but it was interesting enough. There's so many Earth-based Green Lanterns, right, that you got to be like, what are we going to do with all these characters? I guess one of them could be a member of the Sinestro Corps War. Why not Jessica Cruz? Let's see how that works. This issue was actually all right, though. It was pretty cool. And you got some Hal Jordan in it. So that's pretty cool. Then we've got Suicide Squad Annual. This is the end of this first Rob Williams Suicide Squad arc that I think it had a lot of potential at first, and it lost me. And this one, they had the big revelation of what's going on with Superboy, what is Waller's insane plan, how's this all working, and it lost me. It lost me. I got to the end of this, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm good just being done with Suicide Squad. I never thought it was the greatest to begin with, but I thought it was kind of fun, you know, a dumb fun way. But this one just, I don't know, it just kind of lost me. The whole Superboy revelation kind of lost me. And then, annoyingly enough, we have another issue of Suicide Squad. So, once again, double dipping from DC. Surely that wasn't intended, right? But Suicide Squad number 7, I was like, you know what, let's check it out. So this picks up after the annual. You have to read the annual first before you read this one. This book, for the most part, sucked, to be honest. It has Ambush Bug in it, and Ambush Bug was coming across like a dollar store version of Deadpool, and it just was annoying me, and it was taking me out of the story, and it was really kind of pissing me off, honestly, especially after the way I felt about that annual. But then there's some stuff about Rick Flag, and now he's kind of setting up to be opposition to Amanda Waller, and then there's some revelations, and I was like, just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. Crushlobo is here with issue number 4. I'm liking this book. You know, I was kind of wary of it at first, but as the issues have progressed, the book has kind of evened out for me, and it's rather engaging and enticing. I've never really read much with Crush in it. As a character, she is the daughter of Lobo. She goes out into space where Lobo is in space prison. She thinks she's going to go and reconnect with him, or maybe try to resolve some issues that she has. And in fact, he actually is just trying to trick her because he places his like genetic marker on her or whatever. He escapes from prison. Now she's in prison. So this is her in prison realizing like, oh, I've been fooled again. Can't be fooled again. But it happens, right? But then the ensuing story, what spawns out of that, I thought was absolutely fun. I think that Crush is a really cool character in this book. I'm enjoying it. I'm digging it. It's got this nice flamboyant and boisterous sci-fi kind of explosive action, and it's got that a little bit of that crude and rudeness that you're expecting from Lobo. Not as edgy as some of the previous stuff from back in the 90s, but still just enough. Could use a little bit more Lobo, though. But Crushlobo number 4, I actually really, really liked. Then we have Blue and Gold, issue number 2. I like this better than issue number 1, but I do like it. I like that J.M. DeMatteis, Keith Giffen, Kevin Maguire Justice League run where Booster Gold and Blue Beetle were a big part of it. Dan Jurgens is writing this, but Ryan Sook is doing the artwork, which, on a booster gold. I'm not complaining because the artwork's great. But you get some really interesting things going on. The first issue kind of set up that the Justice League didn't really want them around, or that they wanted Blue Beetle but not Booster Gold. So this is kind of showing how much Ted Kord actually cares about Booster. But then there's got some other fun things. So this is just a nice, fun, light, breezy thing. If you're a Booster Gold fan, if you're a Justice League International fan from back in the day, definitely worth checking out. Sensational Wonder Woman, issue number 7. I can't believe it's still going on, but these are just self-contained stories by different creators. They're all just kind of solid, decent Wonder Woman stories. And that's what this one is. It's a story that seems like it's tropey and cliche as you're reading it, but then when you get to the resolution, you realize, oh, there was actually a little bit of a different spin on that, and I appreciated it. Love the cover. Some bits in here are a little bit cool, especially as the artwork goes. So, yeah, I like this one. I thought it was all right. I thought it was all right. Seriously. I thought it's just nice, fun, simple Aquaman stories. Justice League Infinity is here with issue number 3. This is a huge week for DC. Like, really, like, what's going on, DC? Justice League Infinity continuing the stories as if the Justice League animated series continued on, right? You got J.M. DeMatteis here. He's working with Tucker. Is it James Tucker? Yes, James Tucker, Ethan Beavers on the artwork. I like the artwork. It looks exactly like the animated series. That's what you're expecting. In this, they're kind of building up into a crisis-level event for the Justice League animated world. Martian Manhunter's kind of, estranged or disconnected from the rest of them, and he's kind of wrapped back up. But in the last issue, we had Overman from the world where the Nazis won and Superman's a Nazi or whatever. And in this one, we have President Superman and his world. They call it Earth D, which, just waiting for the joke. Is he? Did he say D? You better wait. Got him. Anyway, Justice League Infinity number 3, though, I still like the series. I think it's fun. It's just a little mini-series and, just continuing a bigger, bolder, comic booky type thing from the animated series. I like it. Batman, Catwoman, number 7. Yeah, I didn't like this one. So Liam Sharp comes in to do the art on this one and maybe the next 1 or 2 issues, I think. Artwork is fine for what it is. I mean, it's Liam Sharp doing what he does, and it's a different style than what you're seeing right now in Reptilian. So I like that. I like how versatile Liam Sharp is. But as far as the story goes, I'm done. I don't know if I'm gonna finish it out. But Tom King is taking the simplest little notion of a story. Like, he wrote a paragraph, and they're like, can we stretch this out to 12 issues? Tom King's like, I bet I can. Seriously, it just feels like there's so much wasted space, there's way too much room to breathe that we're in between breaths and we suffocated. Does that make sense? I don't know. The Joker, some of the dialogue in that was really bad, too. The Joker presents a puzzle box, issue number 2. This is like a murder mystery. Who killed the Riddler? It's not set in continuity. The Joker apparently knows. Commissioner Gordon's, interrogating him, trying to get him to figure it out. And you got different artists doing different stories, and you're getting different pieces of the puzzle. And I guess the idea is that we, as the reader, are supposed to be able to see if we can put together the puzzle before they do in the book. But this is like 7 to 8 or a 9-issue series. And I didn't really like issue number 1. I really didn't like issue number 2 either. The artwork's fine for what it is. Very differing styles throughout it because there's a few different artists included, including Jesus Marino and Danny. But the art does fit what they're doing in their segment of the story. But the story itself just feels rather pedestrian. I don't know. It wasn't quite my vibe. Suicide Squad, get Joker number 2. I thought issue number 1 had potential. First of all, Alex Maleev's artwork was amazing, way better than what we are seeing in the pages of Checkmate right now. I really like the artwork here. This shows that Alex that I really, really liked from back in the day. Sam Twitch, Daredevil, and whatnot. Story-wise, though, it's just lost me. I mean, Brian Azzarello is trying to be clever with certain things and certain interpretations of certain characters, but it's just fallen flat. It's not working for me. There are some ludicrous choices made in this one. I did not like this one. So I'm not trying to be too negative, but that one for me was quite a miss. So anyway, let's move over to Marvel. And from Marvel, we have Ka-Zar, Lord of the Savage Land, issue number 1. This one is an interesting book. I actually liked it. I enjoyed it. It was weird. Here's the thing. I don't think many Ka-Zar fans will probably like this, like if you're an old school Ka-Zar fan. But if you're a fan of Zach Thompson's recent work, like Lonely Receiver or I Breathed a Body, it's kind of like that blended in with Marvel, which is kind of interesting. There's some bits in here that don't work for me, but there's a lot of interesting ideas that do. Ka-Zar has been reborn with these plant powers from the Katati or whatever they did back in the Empire event or whatever, one of those tie-ins. So he's kind of trying to deal with this new these new powers, this new way of perceiving the world and things like that. Meanwhile, his wife and his kid are there, and there's elements of it where it's like trying to be domestic, and that's where it kind of falls a little flat for me. And there's other elements where it's very fantastical. I don't think those two worlds mesh very well, but overall, I was actually rather surprised by that. It was an interesting take on a Ka-Zar miniseries. Then we have Extreme Carnage Toxin. You know me, I'm a big symbiote fan. I love Carnage, I love Venom, I love all that stuff. I love the Life Foundation symbiotes, but this stuff's just not doing much for me. It's just kind of wasting space. Oh, we gotta have this many one-shots because we have this many symbiotes around, so everybody gets their own one-shot, instead of just telling like one cohesive story that would be kind of easily threaded through like a miniseries or something. That structure's kind of throwing me out of this event. But I mean, if you're a super huge symbiote fan where you just get everything, definitely check this out. Just see what's up with Toxin, but it's just not doing much for me. Amazing Spider-Man 73. This is Nick Spencer's penultimate issue, and I am rather excited to say that. But, you know, so this was a big revelatory issue, which we've been promised and promised for over 73 issues. There's a lot of revelations in here. Exactly what is Kindred? How does it pertain to the Osborns? How all this stuff starts like it all starts getting laid out. So this is a big exposition dump issue, but it's needed. It doesn't feel heavy though. It doesn't feel weighted down. It's a nice, easy read. So Spencer's finding a way to kind of do not these info dumps, but still have kind of an exciting pace of a comic, like an exciting pace in the comic. But I'm not spoiling it, but I can't wait to talk about this on Sunday night on Rockin' Robbie Live, because I think that this is, for this to be like the big revelation, the big reason for the Nick Spencer run is pretty much revealed here. And for that to be it, like, are you serious? Are you serious? If you're liking this book, I want to know what you think about this issue. Was it all worth that? That's crazy. We're going to talk spoiler-filled, a whole segment about that book. Now, Sunday night on Rockin' Robbie Live. Daredevil's here with issue number 34. I think that's a sweet Rob Liefeld cover. I had to grab this one up. I really like this cover. I do. It's dynamic. It has an energy to it. It reminded me of seeing Liefeld's work on the shelves when I was a kid in the 90s. Anyway, Daredevil number 34 was really solid. Really solid. You know, I've been criticizing the book of late of just kind of meandering around too long in its little bit, and now it leaped forward. It leaped forward a lot in this issue, so finally excited to get some more movement of the story, progressing it forward more, and obviously now we know it's all heading to a point for the Devil's Reign miniseries that's interrupting this title from December for a few months, and then Daredevil will be coming back in some shape, way, or form by Zdarsky and Checchetto. But what Zdarsky's doing here, Checchetto's not on the artwork, but I didn't mind the fill-in artist here. It didn't have that style, but they tried trying with the coloring to make it look like that style. But this one worked for me. I really liked it. Great Elektra stuff, decent Kingpin stuff, and finally moving and progressing that Daredevil in prison story forward to a point. Defenders, issue number 2. This is a book, to me, that as I'm reading it, I am transfixed by the ideas in the book, right? It's Al Ewing diving into more of the ancient cosmology of Marvel and the previous timelines before and the ages and whatnot. We're in the 8th age and whatnot, all that kind of stuff, right? Some really cool ideas there. The artwork by, it's Javier Rodriguez, right? Yeah, freaking fantastic, amazing layouts. The artwork in this book is great. It's big, it's cosmic, it's explosive. The story's ideas fit the ideas of the composition of the artwork, but the energy of the artwork doesn't fit, for me, what feels to be a little bit of a lack of energy in the actual narrative of the story. Great big ideas, great big artwork that flows and moves, but a story that's just kind of feels like it's being held back by the weight of those ideas. I don't know, it doesn't seem like it's balanced very well. But Defenders number 2, there's still some intriguing stuff there. X-Force number 23. This might be it for me, y'all. This might be my last X-Force book, because I read this one and I was like, you know what? And I read it early too. I was like, I'm going to read this one, like ready to enjoy it. I like it when you're clever in a comic book, But sometimes, like, for instance, the idea is that these Russian mutants that don't want to join Krakoa have these nesting dolls. Like, so there's, like, a dude you think you killed, but there's a smaller dude, and then a smaller, like... It's so stupid. For a story that's trying to be so dark, and it's trying to ponder the ideas of the Beast going too far, which I think feels very out of character, more like Dark Beast, but whatever, right? But if you want to take the series in this dark CIA X-Men direction, that's cool. But you got to leave the doofy ideas at the doorstep if you want to go on that road. You got to leave the doofy ideas behind. This was stupid. Savage Avengers number 24 was rather refreshing. I liked this book. We're building up to a big ultimate confrontation with Cullen Bunn. This story's been fun. It's Conan in the Marvel Universe. An idea like that shouldn't work. But it does. It does work. And you got Patch Zurcher on the artwork now. Jerry Duggan's doing a great job of making Conan not feel out of place. Like, it's funny at times. It's savage at times. It's a really solid book. I describe it as the Roadhouse of Marvel Comics. And I am pleased. Let's jump over to Vault. We got Deadbox number 1. This is from Mark Russell with artwork by Benjamin Tiesma. I like this one enough. I thought it was pretty interesting. So it's about this small town. Feels like a southern town, like a rednecky type town or something. This has got some societal satire work that we're used to from Mark Russell, but this one's probably just a little bit more not so subtle. And I'm not saying that he's subtle in his satire whatsoever. But it's about this small town. And they have, like, no movie theater there. They don't get TV or something. They just have this one red box type thing, but it's called the Deadbox. And there are these movies that are in it that nobody's ever heard of. And if you look them up on the internet, they don't even exist, right? So there's a really interesting mystery there. It's in this one, like, store that this woman's working at. And her dad's, like, got some kind of illness or something, right? And then at the same time, she picks one of these movies out and it's telling the story of this movie. And it seems like when you watch one of these movies, it starts kind of affecting your reality, or your reality affects the movies that are in there. It's a bit unclear, but it had a lot of cool ideas. And the two narratives from the movie that she's watching and the story of the town, the way that's overlaid with each other was rather fascinating to me. So Deadbox number 1 was a really decent enough first issue. Definitely makes me curious to come in and check out issue number 2. Wasted Space is here with issue number 23. Masterful. Magnificent. Just freaking awesome. This book, I have seen this entire creative team, Michael Morisi, Hayden Sherman, Jason Wordie, Jim Campbell, get better and better and better. Their talents have gotten better. The story's always been one of my favorites. This has been one of the best books on shelves for the last, like, 5+ years, however long it's been. I am so sad to see this go, but hitting its point, this was a perfect issue. If you've been following the journey of these characters, to read this issue almost brought a tear to my eye. It was amazing. So much has come full circle. The artwork has morphed and shifted and changed I'll just say this, as Billy has kind of cleaned up his act. The artwork has gotten much more tight. The composition has gotten much more psychedelic, and not in a muddy way. Incredibly innovative storytelling techniques in this issue. Amazing character work, fully realized arcs. All the time you see in comic books or TV or movies, character beats that hit that are not earned or deserved. That is not the case with Wasted Space. Every moment in here, it has been earned, and it was awesome. Wasted Space number 23. We're nearing closer and closer to that end. I don't want it to end. But all good things, right? The last book you'll ever read, issue number 2. This is Cullen Bunn. This is an interesting book that reminds me very much. We got Layla Lees on the artwork there. It reminds me incredibly of In the Mouth of Madness, right? The John Carpenter movie that's really kind of a love letter to Lovecraft and a little bit of Stephen King thrown in there as well. So it's about this woman. She wrote a book, and in the book she's kind of criticizing society's need to, like, go dark and how we're all just, like, pieces of crap or whatever. It's just, I don't know, something like that, right? And there's a lot of controversy around this book because people are offended by it. But it's actually also riling people up and almost having them act demonic. Like there's something mystical about the book that's causing people to act out, and it's leading and ushering in the end of the world. Then she decides that even in the midst of all of this chaos, she's going to go on a book tour. And so she has to find a bodyguard who refuses to read her book, because when people read her book, that's when they start going a little bit crazy. But maybe just being around her is enough to influence this dude, hearing her ideas and things like this. This book is really interesting, and I thought issue number 2 has some nice twists and turns. It had an ending where you're like, ooh, yeah, right? And then you're like, oh, wait a second, what's about to develop out of this? Last book you'll ever read, number 2. Super solid. I really like that. From Image Comics, we got The Six Sidekicks of Trigger Keaton, issue number 4. I've been liking this book a lot. It's Kyle Starks, it's Chris Schweizer. It's got this nice cartoonish type style to it, both with the artwork and with the story. It's about this dude named Trigger Keaton, who was like a television star. He did all these different shows, and in each of these shows, he had like a kid sidekick or something, and he treated them like crap. And then it turns out, as an old man, he winds up getting murdered, and the only people that care to solve the murder are his former sidekicks, and you get lots of fun, crazy hijinks, nice little jokes here, the War of the Stuntmen, for instance. Really interesting stuff. I love this book. It's just been a nice, fun ride since it started. Over at Dynamite, we got the Army of Darkness 1979. I haven't read an Army of Darkness book since, like, the very first few, right, over at Dynamite, so it's been a while. But in this one, what happens is that Ash gets sucked through a portal into 1979 because he goes to New York in 1979, the Bronx, I think, in particular. It's very much like Warriors, like the movie Warriors there. There's all these gangs fighting for turf, and then this one gang who has the Necronomicon kind of starts taking over. And so he gets pulled through the portal to go there to try to stop it. It's written by Rodney Barnes, who we know from Philadelphia. The artwork had this nice kind of grit flair to it. I really liked the book. I thought it was solid. It's nothing that's going to like change your life or anything like that. But if you're a big fan of the Evil Dead and Army of Darkness franchises, I found a lot to enjoy in this book. I had a lot of fun with it. Then also we have Elvira meets Vincent Price, issue number 2. Loved it, loved it. This book is amazing. The whole basic idea is this. Elvira's writer friend kind of betrays her and steals one of her ideas, and now Elvira's like sulking. She's visited by the ghost of Vincent Price, and Vincent Price tells her, yo, I need your help to solve the mystery of this missing movie that allegedly he made. They have to go find it. It's called The Rise of the Ram. It's tied into Egyptian mythology and lore and things like that. So they basically go on the road, the ghost of Vincent Price and Elvira, to go and find this missing movie, and hijinks ensue. I have a lot of fun with this book. It reminds me of some Abbott and Costello type stuff. It's very true to the humor and vibe of Elvira, and I love it. I think David Avallone, I believe, is the writer, does such a fantastic job just keeping it light and fun, self-referencing, but at the same time not like annoying with it. And the artwork by Juan Samu is really freaking solid. Let me show you a page that's not just advertisements here, but really like the artwork in this book. If you're an Elvira fan, I highly encourage you to check that out. Kiss Phantom Obsession, issue number 2. I love that photo cover. Can I get that poster on my wall? That's super freaking dope. You know, I got to see Kiss finally, like just a few years ago. So I'm glad I got to do that before it, you know, whatever. In this book, what happens is that some super rich guy tricks Kiss into coming to perform at a private event. He actually kidnaps them, and he's trying to leech the God particles from the universe. He believes they are avatars of powers. The 4 members of Kiss are avatars of these powers that are made up of the universe. He's trying to siphon them off of them, and that's a weird, wild, wacky idea of the story, and I had fun with it. This book is okay, but I have a lot of fun with that. Like, I'm a Kiss fan, and it's just so ridiculous, like purposefully ridiculous, that it kind of works for me. So there you go. From Boom Studios, we have Mighty Morphin number 11. Now that we know the secret origin of Lord Zed, we're tying that back up into the Eltarian invasion and what's going on there. What's going on with Zordon, the Eltarian race members that are there. There's drama with Billy. I have been kind of down on this book, ready for it to kind of move a little bit further, and I feel like, especially after the revelations of who Lord Zed really is, his connection to Zordon, I am really back involved heavily in this book and excited for where we're going. It is a bit overwrought at times, and it could tighten itself up a little bit, but the ideas are there, and there's some of the best ideas we've gotten in Power Rangers lore ever. Then we have Eve, number 5. This is the final issue of Eve. It's a satisfying enough conclusion, but it didn't completely wow me or blow me away. it had a nice touch to it, though. There was a bit of it that made me feel good and warm inside, but there was also a bit that made me kind of feel a little bit chilly inside, if that makes sense. So Eve has been an interesting book where it did just enough to always keep my interest there for the next issue. And now that it's wrapped up, it's one of those things where I'm like, well, I'm glad I read that, but I don't know how often I will actually go back and re-experience Eve, but it was a very solid ending for the series. Then we have Momo, number 3. I like this book. So it's about this woman, this young lady, her mom was sick. She has to go out and find the witch of the village to, like, heal her mother. But the witch is kind of, like, outcast, and the witch that she's looking for is dead, right? And instead, it's like the witch's apprentice is here, or his granddaughter or something? Anyway, but you have this other character, and what's affecting the village negatively is the fact that her grandmother, or this previous witch, died, and her bones were scattered all about the town, and they need to be buried outside of the town or something like that. So it's kind of like this questy thing. It's got a nice pace to it, nice, beautiful artwork. It's kind of got this flow like a manga does. It's a breeze to read, and in this issue, there's a lot of revelations about what's actually going on, how those witches' bones got scattered, and why. And I thought it actually hit really good. It was one of the strongest issues of this series yet. Momo number 3 from Boombox. Then from Dark Horse, we got Mazebook number 1. This is a new one, completely written and illustrated by Jeff Lemire. I loved it. It was really dark. It was kind of depressing. But so Mazebook, so we have this idea of mazes, whether they're in the mind and depression and despair, right? And the idea visually, there's some visual cues in here about mazes too, mazes in society and things like that. So artistically was really spot on. This is definitely one of the best books of the week for me, but it is a little bit depressing. It's about this dude whose daughter died at 11 years old. He can't get over that, so he's just stuck in this rut, in this routine, kind of like running like through a maze, right? And then there's something that happens at the end that kind of shifts it a little bit. But most of this book is really dark and is really depressing, but it's got this bittersweet quality to it, and that's what Jeff Lemire brings. It's got a very monotone type coloring in there, but there are other moments where it has a bit more color, but it's mostly just this dude running around kind of not liking his life, but not knowing how to escape the maze, if you will. But it was very deep. It was an easy read. It's cat feeder. It's time to do that bit again. It was an easy read, but it was a necessary read. I loved it. Mazebook, issue number 1. Next up, we have the Unbelievable Unteens issue number 2. This is written by Jeff Lemire with artwork by Tyler Crook. Really like this one. I thought the first issue was a bit stronger than the second, but the second issue was enticing enough as well. Basically, the story is about this woman who is the comic book creator of this comic book called the Unbelievable Unteens. It's a little bit Doom Patrol, it's a little bit X-Men, and then all of a sudden, one of the characters from the book pops into her real life and tells her, yo, you're one of the characters in the book. We've just been made to forget, and now we're out here in the real world. We have to get everybody to remember. And that's what happens in issue number 2. More revelations on who these different members are, where they are now in current society, and them kind of just going by the numbers, trying to awaken certain ones. But then it hits to a point that's pretty interesting, and I really like the book. Tyler Crook's artwork's great. There's moments where it's really got a lot of depth and dimension to it, and then other moments where it's less so because it's the comic book pages of the comic book that she created. Really interesting stuff. Unbelievable Unteens. It's from the world of Black Hammer. Issue number 2 from Dark Horse. Then we have Last Flight Out number 1. This is from Dark Horse. I was rather impressed with this one. This was not on my radar at all. It's written by Mark Guggenheim with artwork by Eduardo Ferrigado. I really freaking like this book. So it's about this dude who he's had to create a way off planet. He spent his entire life figuring out how to evacuate the human population because the Earth was no longer going to be able to sustain itself, and it was going to die and no longer support human life. So he's done this at the expense of not being able to be there for his daughter. Right? So his daughter, early on, his wife dies. He has to take care of his daughter, but he's so busy on saving the world that she's just, brought up by nannies and babysitters and stuff like that. So now it's time for the last ship, the last flight out. Some people are continuing to stay behind. They don't believe the science that the Earth is actually dying or whatever, so they want to stay there. So the last ship is going, and his daughter's nowhere there. She's decided to stay. So it's his journey to try to get her with just 24 hours or something left. And it was actually a really cool book, had some great ideas, a great pace, a great delivery system with the artwork, with the coloring, with the flow of it. It worked really well. Last Flight Out was one of the most solid #1s from Dark Horse I've read in a while that wasn't written by Jeff Lemire. So there you go. Star Trek The Mirror War, issue #0. So The Mirror War is an 8-issue series that's about to start, and it's the Mirror Universe version of Star Trek The Next Generation. Monday night we had Gavin Smith on. He's going to be the artist of the main series. This is the 0 issue, though, because there's also going to be like 3 one-shots, I think, that are connected to it. Gavin's not doing the artwork on that, but he will be doing the artwork on the main series. So if you're interested in this, I would highly encourage you to check out Rockin' Robbie Live with Gavin Smith, and you'll get a little bit more information about this and some of his other work like Dead Legends. But Star Trek The Mirror War does a good job of catching you up if you haven't read what's come before, because this is kind of teeing off of a story that's already been done a couple times in the IDW world. And it's decent enough. It's all right. I thought it was okay. I mean, it's overly verbose. It's bogged down. The artwork was all right. It was decent. But I am excited to see what happens in the main series, especially with Gavin doing the artwork. He was a super cool guy. That was a fun conversation. Kanto 3, Lionhearted, issue #3. So after my last review of Kanto, Bullseye Bob felt the need to message me and explain some things to me, that Kanto is not ending anytime soon. There's like book 4, maybe book 5, something like that. So right now he was explaining to me where we're at in the story, and I had to reconnect to the idea, and I'm glad that you did that, Bullseye Bob, because I read issue 3 and I enjoyed the hell out of it. So Kanto is off trying to recruit help for their war against the Shrouded Man. Then you have Falco and the gang, and they're out doing their own thing. The book feels dire. It feels like there's high consequences, high stakes, and it still has that nice touch that to me is connected directly to the root of your heart to story, if that makes sense. Kanto Lionhearted #3, Sword. Loved that book. Search for Hugh, issue #1. This is from Aftershock. John Sway, Steve Orlando, and Rubine. This is kind of appropriate to come out right after Shang-Chi's come out in the movie theater. A lot of people responding well to that one, so you definitely should check this one out if you like that. But it's interesting. It's kind of like a martial arts story mixed with a mafia story, right? And so the idea is that this dude's parents, they like own, what is it they own? It's like a restaurant or a store or something. Anyway, they're out chilling. All of a sudden these people come, drive by, and they like shoot up his parents. And he's like, what? So he goes to the hospital. His mom's barely making it, but she tells him, yo, I got something to let you know. We had to leave home because back in the other country, like, our family are gangsters, right? And so now this other tribe, those other gangs coming after them, and he gets caught in the middle, and he goes ham, and now he's going out for revenge. So it had some nice action scenes. It had some decent character moments, but I just feel like the main character goes from, what did you just tell me, Mom, to, I need to get over there and just tear ass rather quickly. It kind of happens real quick, and I just don't buy that motivation. Aside from that, though, it was pretty decent. Search for Hugh, issue #1. Then we have Dancing with the Dragon, issue #1 from Scout Comics. This one, it's kind of like a martial arts movie mixed with a crime. Wait a second. Shang-Chi just came out. This is perfectly... Wait a second. Oh, I see what they're doing here. Dancing with the Dragon is interesting. It's about this this man and his wife, and they don't have a lot of money, and he winds up driving for this dude on this I don't know, like money laundering or drug deal or something like that, and so he's helping the guy get back up to his apartment, and the guy dies, and then he decides he's going to take over the business, and I don't know. It had some nice action. It had a nice flow throughout it, but it just wasn't quite super grabby of my attention. But Dancing with the Dragon, Search for Hugh. Oh, by the way, Shang-Chi came out today, too. Shang-Chi #4. So, just thought that was neat. Bountiful Garden, issue #1 from Mad Cave Studios. This was a pretty decent one, so it's kind of picking up on an idea that was in Last Flight Out, actually, which is interesting that they came out on the same day, but it's about like a world in which we're having to mass evacuate Earth. So, but they only send kids in this one, right? So it's a ship full of kids, and the ship malfunctions with like still 10 years to go, and they only have like 2 years of food, right? So now the kids are like stuck drifting in space with not enough resources, and they're just kids, right? So interesting. There are vibes of Sentient by Jeff Lemire and Gabriel Walta, but It's not as complex as that. There are no adults or whatever, but it was interesting enough. It was a solid idea. It had some really cool artwork. I really liked the texture provided by the coloring, especially. Maybe that was gray tone stuff that the artist did. I'm not sure, but has nice texture to it. It was a decent enough idea. Similar to some other ideas, though, of recently. But Bountiful Guard #1, pretty decent from Mad Cave. Then we have Not All Robots, issue #2, from Mark Russell, Mike Deodato. I really like this one. So it's kind of your typical origin of the Matrix story, where every household has a robot. But usually it's because we as humans have built robots, you know, to do our menial task. And that's kind of what's going on. But the perspective of this story is that the robots feel like they're taking care of us because we can't take care of ourselves. So the humans are almost like pets to the robots. Meanwhile, there's a lot of violence going on. Like one of the robots just wiped out Orlando and he gets acquitted. And the humans are like, some humans are like, oh, it's fine. And other humans are like, no, it's not. And so it's a really interesting take on a very common trope of a robot versus humanity kind of revolution and war type thing. But it's a different approach that has a little bit more subtle sarcasm than Deadbox does from Mark Russell. But I like it. I thought the artwork was super solid too. So that's what I read. That's what I thought. What are you reading? What are you digging? What are you liking? Let us know in the comments down below. Be sure to comment, like, and subscribe to enter to win this Vengeance of Vampirella #12 Lucio Perillo limited edition Virgin variant from Dynamite Entertainment. We'll be announcing that winner on Sunday night, Rockin' Robbie Live. To enter, just like, subscribe, and comment, and there you go. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Join us over at popculturephilosophers.com for podcasts, blogs, and a whole lot more. I've been Rockin' Robbie Billups. Thanks for rocking with us. Station. Keep on reading.